Hey kiddos, it's Finn, and I'm actually recording on my tripod with my nice camera. I have gotten into the habit of using my phone for the past year or so, and it actually takes work to use the tripod, to use the camera, and so I figured, why not try it? My last video, Alex commented that he wanted to see my hair, my glow-in-the-dark hair, so I wanted to go ahead and do a little demonstration of it. Here we go. And as the camera focuses, it kind of fades, but at the moment, it's still bright as hell. Like if you were here in person, you could see how bright it is. But yeah, that's my glow-in-the-dark hair. So yeah, I have to record it with my phone because for whatever reason, my camera just doesn't pick up the glowing effect. But yeah, I do like this hair, and I think I'll do a whole head of just glowing hair eventually. It's just that it's kind of expensive. So lately I have been thinking. I've been trying to I suppose focus my energy on more positive endeavors. It's difficult because, I don't know, as a person that is so pessimistic, I find it difficult not to get mired in depression, just general negative thoughts, especially with the state that the world is in. So I've been trying to distract myself from the invariable whirlwind of bullshit that the world is currently spiraling in. I'm trying to do some more positive things, trying to focus on more positive energy, manifesting, as the kids would say. And not so much manifesting as it is just generally contemplating the concept of happiness. That's what I've been doing lately, and that's what the subject of this video is: happiness. The definition of happiness, as according to Webster or maybe dictionary.com, I don't remember, is the state of being happy, which isn't all that helpful when you use the word that you're trying to describe in its definition. Not helpful at all, really. And so I thought I would try to spitball just a concept of what I believe happiness is. I think it is a state of contentment, joy. I think it is a spectrum between just general contentment to outright elation, euphoria. It's just a state that a person can experience. The way that I think about happiness, describing it, because it's not so much deeper but more complicated than just a state of being. I think of it, I suppose, temporally. So let me try to describe what I'm saying exactly. Because I think it is stratified. There's different compartments in which happiness can exist, temporally speaking, and then also as far as your identity goes. So the first step in temporal happiness is the emotional level, like how I describe emotions as the very quick, fleeting experiences of, well, just chemicals in your brain. They can last, a few seconds to a minute, but they're very fleeting. Then you have the mood level, and a mood is more like the wave that you ride. It can be a series of instances of emotional happiness, but it lasts longer. The mood is kind of informed by feelings, like thoughts that you have connected to the emotion, which causes it to last longer. And I would say it's probably less intense than the emotional level. Emotions tend to be pretty intense when they're evoked, while a mood can be a lot more mellow, but can last, hours, days, weeks. You can just be in a good mood. But it's still fleeting. It's still not as concrete as, say, a state would be. And when I say a state, I mean like a condition, the condition of happiness. When a person feels fulfilled, content, self-satisfied. And this is not so much permanent as it is just a state of being. Yeah, when your well-being is just in a good place. But it is temporally lasts longer than a mood or an emotion. And I was talking to Dig about it yesterday, trying to get to the bottom of what exactly the condition of happiness is. And we couldn't really figure out whether or not we agreed if it was a series of good moods, happy moods, strung together, made of emotional instances of happiness, or if it is an experience unto itself, where the whole is more valuable than its parts. I tend to think that it is an experience unto itself, that contentment, the condition of happiness in one's life, is more valuable than a series of good moods. But I could be wrong. I think a lot of people ascribe, or maybe poorly assess, the experience of negative thoughts, negative emotions, like anger, sadness, despair, guilt, disgust. I think a lot of people think of those emotions as experiences to be avoided because the condition of happiness cannot be achieved when you're experiencing negative emotions, which isn't true. Because when you're not experiencing negative emotions, you're not experiencing the full range of emotions. And that's not necessarily healthy. It's not healthy not to experience the whole range of emotions. Because without sadness, you don't have the balance of happiness. But also, you don't have a frame of reference. You don't have the perspective to know exactly where you are. It muddies the water. It makes life more confusing when you don't experience the full range of emotions. And I tend to feel that the condition of happiness, the experience of fulfillment in one's life, is not the absence of negative emotions, of sadness, depression. It's the acceptance of it that is inevitable, and that life is made of varying moments, highs, lows, and accepting that is how you can go on to live a happy life. And I've talked about happiness temporally speaking, with time being the main determinant, but there is also just the existence of happy people. Like, babies are seen as happy individuals because they don't really have a whole lot going on unless they're experiencing some kind of trauma. They're usually pretty happy. And so there are people who are just generally happy people. It's less of a temporal component as it is a part of their identity. Like people that have hyperthyroidism, where there's a literal chemical imbalance, they tend to be a lot happier. They're just happier people, which is interesting. And on this channel, I have talked about the experience of happiness and how I'm not entirely certain that is within my grasp. And so when I talk about happiness being something I'm incapable of, I'm not referring to the emotion of happiness. I've experienced happiness before, and it's weirdly just kind of uncomfortable. It feels, it's draining, and it just feels weird. It feels flighty and weird, and I have, in recent years, been endeavoring to re-engage myself with my emotions because I have a pretty hard disconnect from experiencing my emotions and engaging with them. I think that's just a part of how I was raised, to see emotions as unnecessary, as negative. So even positive emotions are negative to me. They're negative experiences. They cause dissociation. And so I have been trying to re-engage with emotions, but it's difficult to do as the person who has the issue. It would be easier if I had like a therapist to work with to kind of get through these moments, but therapy hasn't benefited me all that much these past few years, and so I've been doing it on my own. And I've been in good moods. I've had a good mood before, and that's a lot more manageable as far as the discomfort goes, because moods to me are not as intense as emotions are. But yeah, I'm not talking about an emotional state. I'm not talking about the mood. I'm not talking about being a happy person. I am talking about the condition of happiness, fulfillment with one's life. I don't know if that's something that I am capable of, because I believe in order to be happy with your life, you have to have a certain amount of insight into who you are, into what things you need, what things you want, in order to be happy, in order to feel fulfilled. And I've spent so much time disconnected from myself that I'm not sure that the connections that I was supposed to make as a kid are possible. I'm not sure that I will ever have the insight into myself as a person to know what I need and what I want in order to be happy. I think there are a lot of people who are not so much in tune with themselves, they're just connected to themselves. It's kind of a passive thing. They just know that if there's a thing that they want, that's what they want. And that's actually something that's very, very, very difficult for me to understand. I have a very hard time understanding what it is that makes me happy, because happiness is discomfort, and it's always been discomfort. And so it's kind of a vicious cycle where I never become in tune with myself. I never experience the emotions I need in order to understand myself. And so I'm just kind of floating in this void of discomfort. Not knowing who I am and not knowing what I want. And that's no way to live. As much as I talk about being a nihilist, I do believe that the purpose of life is to create your own purpose. That's the beauty of there being no purpose. And to me, fulfillment, self-satisfaction is the purpose. And so if I'm not fulfilled with myself, there really is no point. But I'm not sure if that's something that I am entirely capable of. Though I will try. But I am curious. What are your guys' thoughts on happiness? Do you think I'm just pulling these definitions out of my ass? Do you agree that it's a temporal component to it? Do you think that fulfillment, contentment is possible when you don't know yourself, when you don't understand the experience of emotions? Because I tend to think it isn't. But I am curious to see what you guys think about it, and if you are happy. And if so, why? And how do you know? Give me some comments about your experiences with happiness and your thoughts about it as a condition, as a philosophy almost. I'm very curious to know what you guys feel about it. Until next time.